we were doing. So we go to reception, and the woman, it was a couple, an old couple, who had the site and, rented it out. She was really homophobic, because I think when me and Kat, keep saying Cass, why? It's not even Cass.
That's all right. I'm always in your head. I know that.
I know, always, right? Just constantly on my mind. When me and Tash went there.
On your mind. I am always on your mind. Okay, carry on.
Yeah, I thought I'd let you finish that off.
Tell me. I apologise to everyone that had to listen to me sing.
I was trying to harmonise, trying to put a bit
You did.
there.
I loved that you joined in there. Thank you.
If I knew the lyrics after that, I would have continued.
So would I.
There you go. We should have an all musical podcast, I think.
No, that would be horrific for everyone.
They just stop listening and think, do you know what? Forget this. This is too much. I can't.
It would be terrible.
Yeah, it would be. So anyway, we went in together, and I think she must have thought that we were, girlfriend and girlfriend, because she was being very type of rude when people are being rude, but they're not being aggressive rude.
Yeah, they're just being very short.
Yeah, and very off the cuff kind of comments, and being, very short with you, and kind of looking down her nose. And I thought, and it took me a little while to kind of cotton on, because the site itself didn't allow same-sex couples.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, honestly.
How long ago was this? Was this like 1983?
No, this was last year. This was 2014.
So ridiculous.
August, right?
So much.
And they had it on their website where they said, same-sex couples aren't permitted. So we knew that.
But what if you're friends? How would they know?
Exactly. No, they didn't.
Did they ask?
No, they didn't. It was just me and Tash that went in, and because she only saw the two of us, she asked us, is it just you two? And we said, no, my boyfriend's in the car. It's not just us two. And she was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's fine. But she was still being so weird and very, very slyly homophobic. I definitely felt there was that, vibe. Even when her husband came out and, it was just the two of us, he was kind of looking at us funny, and I was sure they'd probably ask us to leave. And
Why do people run businesses where the general public are going to be there and then hate on the general public?
Yeah, it doesn't really make sense, does it? At all. But I said,
I hate people.
Tash said afterwards that she should have just started making out or something just to piss her off. just to like annoy her. I should have done that, and I was like, yeah, I should have, but I didn't. Cause,
you don't want to ruin everybody's holiday just because of their homophobia.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, that was a bit of the little background story for you and everybody else. And right, so we were camping, and I'd woken up in the morning because I couldn't sleep very well because it was really, really cold those first couple of days.
And it's camping. Nobody likes camping.
Yeah, well, see, I always thought beforehand I would really enjoy camping because I enjoy the outdoors, and I think I still would enjoy it because there's so many aspects that I loved. Being woken up by my natural kind of body clock and not my alarm on my phone, and just being awoken by noises outside, like, the birds and that kind of thing. That was really, really lovely, and I felt very rested. The sleeping bag wasn't enough because the floor is very hard. So
because you're outside.
Exactly. So maybe have a mattress next time, or like an air bed like those guys did, which I didn't. So, that taught me. Anyway, so I woke up one morning and I'd got the little gas hob on, and I was making myself my breakfast, cup of tea, and the sun was just kind of coming up. And then I was staring off into the trees in the forest, and this man appeared out of nowhere. Seriously.
What did the man look like?
The man looked like somebody who was one of those exploration guys in, say, the 1930s, 1940s, complete with that gear and that kit.
What, like a safari?
Yeah, like he was Caucasian. He had that white kind of safari hat on. He had the binoculars, and he had a hunting dog with him. And he just looked completely out of place, as if, if you saw somebody maybe walking down the street in complete Victorian costume and outfit, they'd look a bit out of place maybe, or they'd catch your eye, right? So then he was there, and his dog was hunting something, or just sniffing about, and he was following his dog. And then when he kind of saw me, and I saw him, because initially I just thought, okay, that's very odd.
How far away was he?
A couple of meters.
So he was close enough so that you could see a lot of detail?
Yes, completely a lot of detail. And the thing is, I had my glasses on as well.
Okay.
So I could see like the really fine details. Everything was in HD when I had my glasses on. And then, after a little while of him being there, he kind of just disappeared right in front of me. Gone.
What, did he like slowly vanish like he was being beamed up by Scotty? Or did you look away, turn back, and
No,
he'd gone back into
no,
the
did
woods?
not. No, 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 no. I was watching him from start to finish because something about it just seemed very, very odd. I couldn't put my finger on it, but it was just a little weird. And literally, he was gone like a puff of smoke.
Did he look like the guy, the manhunter from Jumanji?
The clothes did, yes.
All right, okay.
But I don't think he had like a really walrusy moustache.
And could you hear him walking around?
Yes.
Like, he was physically touching things?
Yeah, he was touching things and he was crunching on the leaves.
I just don't know how he could have disappeared in front of your eyes.
Exactly, that's the thing. When you hear things like this, you can't quite, believe them unless you see them for yourselves. And I did.
Did you tell other people? Did you say, I've just seen the guy from Jumanji?
Yeah, I did. I told my friend, I told Tash and her boyfriend, and we were discussing it over breakfast, and I thought that was really, really weird, but cool at the same time.
Did you speak to the homophobic people and say, have any of your previous guests spotted the manhunter from Jumanji wandering about the woods?
Yeah, he's probably hunting them. I should
He
have
might
tipped
well
him
be.
off.
He's a homophobe hunter.
He is a homophobe hunter, and he was just trying to do a great service to the world.
By getting rid of homophobes.
Yeah, starting with the couple.
Which, to be fair, is, it's a good hobby to have. Either that or some kind of, I don't know. I want to say concentration camp, but obviously not concentration camp. Like a re-education camp.
Yes, that sounds a lot better.
Send them to a re-education camp to stop being idiots.
Yeah, and to be educated. Oh, did you hear that? I don't know which movie company it is, but they're putting together a new cast for Ghostbusters.
Yes, I've heard.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
I'm so
wait.
upset.
Oh, we're like chalk and cheese, we are.
I struggle so much with remakes as it is. And I know this is either going to be Ghostbusters 3 or it's going to be a remake, but it's just so typical that they would go with an all-female cast for Ghostbusters. I just don't know where I just hate my childhood being ruined in the way that it is.
Oh, bless you. Well, look, hopefully they don't try to remake any of the films that have already been
What you mean, like Spider-Man?
Directed and produced.
Like when
they completely mess that up.
There's so many good ideas that are out there, and I have loads of good ideas for films, and yet they just keep revisiting the last 30 years and just remaking films. And I don't know, it might be good, it might just be like Bridesmaids with ghosts thrown in. I honestly don't know. I don't want to, because I'm completely anti-Star Wars now, like the new films, obviously not the originals. I don't want to keep living in this despair because it's getting to the point where I'm either going to start cutting myself or just like commit suicide because...
And we don't want that.
No, the movie industry I just feel has lost its way completely and is just trundling out tripe all the time. But back to your ghost story, I can only comment and say I think it's bullshit.
Really? Honestly, I'm not making it up.
No. I don't think you're making it up at all. I don't know enough of the facts about it, like to know whether or not it was just a guy wandering around about the woods with his dog, or
disappeared right in front of me.
I don't know. It could have been a dream. I don't know if you'd been drinking the night before.
No,
I would have to sit down and ask and go through a series of questions. I mean, to be fair, at least it wasn't. When I was little, I woke up and there was a man sat on the end of my bed and he told me to go back to sleep, and I did. To be fair, at least it's not that, because then I'd say, well, no, you were asleep and it's bullshit. But it was
a dream.
Yeah, exactly. I just struggle with things that are supernatural and
okay, fair enough.
But it's interesting. It's not one that I've heard before.
Yeah,
it certainly isn't. Had you been doing any drugs, I would have said it was definitely the drugs, but I know that you probably weren't.
No, wasn't doing any drugs. Completely sober. Wasn't dreaming because I was fully awake. So
interesting.
Yeah, you can interrogate me on that later.
I just think that there's a rational explanation for it.
Yeah, well,
but
I'd say it's paranormal. You'd say there's a rational
scientific explanation.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because I believe in logic and the universe and the laws of logic in the universe.
Yeah, I believe in logic too. And then I'm also a hippie, so I like to think that what was that you whispered under your breath?
Bloody hippies.
Have you seen the South? I balance myself out. Pardon?
Have you seen the South Park episode about hippies?
No.
I'll send it to you. It's hilarious. But no, that's interesting. I mean, I can only say strange things happen. I've maybe had a couple of strange experiences, but at no point have I ever put them down to being ghosts or poltergeists or anything supernatural, because I have a rational mind and I can't believe that, and there's always an explanation for everything. Like people say, I was looking at my teacup and it just flew off the table, I was watching Dr. Professor Cox a little while ago, and he was talking about physics and the fact that everything, even inanimate objects, are in a constant state of motion, and all the tiny particles are constantly moving around, and at some point there's a chance that all the particles or enough of the particles will move in one direction all at once, and that can cause things to move.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, exactly. And had I had him as a teacher, or had I seen things like that when I was younger and when I was at school, I would definitely have followed science a lot more, but I didn't, because science was just Bunsen burners and petri dishes.
Oh, good old Bunsen burners. I remember those.
Good old Bunsen burners. I'll never
Do they
forget.
still do that in class or in school?
I don't know. I assume that they probably would, but Bunsen burners just remind me of burning hair.
Why? Is there a story behind that?
No, just that a lot of the girls wore an awful lot of hairspray, and quite often part of it will go
like a flamethrower.
Yeah. Like, oh God, I'm sure there were 2 or 3 girls in my school that, like, the hair went up, and then they had to start telling us that we weren't allowed to wear hairspray, and then all the girls, what do you mean we can't wear hairspray? Well, either that or your entire head's going to set on fire. What would you prefer?
Oh, the smell of singed hair.
Yeah, that's what science reminds me of, singed hair, which is nice. But yeah, so that was my talk on ghosts and how bullshit it is, and people saying, oh, I took a picture and there was a weird smudge and it looks like a hand and it must be my granddad. Oh, fuck off, is it? It's not. People just hold on to some kind of hope, and if it comforts you, fine. But don't be telling other people that sort of bullshit. Just fucking keep it to yourself. But not really related to ghosts at all, but weirdness is, and I've seen a couple of stories of this in the past, the quirks that some people find after having a transplant of an organ from somebody else's body.
Oh, yes. I have read into that before, because it is quite fascinating where they feel like they take on some of the interests or characteristics of said
taste.
Person.
Yeah,
yes, or taste, or likes, that kind of thing, or dislike.
And I think that's quite fascinating. And there was a chap that suddenly, I think he had a heart transplant, and he suddenly took up cycling because he loved cycling. This is kind of related to transplants, but not. She'd had to have a fecal transplant.
Wow.
I know. I was reading into it thinking this must be made up. It must be, but it isn't. She'd had lots of digestive and bowel problems, and one of the ways to sort it was to replace some of the bacteria or some of the fecal matter, so that her body would then kind of reproduce it and would then cure whatever illness it was. I'll have to look into it more. But she'd had a fecal transplant from a member of her family, because it's the easiest way to do it. And since then, she had lost a lot of weight, then become a bit more active. And I thought, how amazing would that be if instead of having all these gastric bands, we just have fecal transplants?
Wow, you could be onto something. Have you made notes in your notebook about this?
All I wrote down was poo transplant.
Okay.
I'm not a doctor, and I've never been to university. The Fecal Transplant Foundation.
The Fecal Transplant Foundation.
I want to work for them. Where do you work? I work at the Fecal Transplant Foundation. That's amazing. Microbiome. Yeah, the FTF. The microbiome, it's called, is what they do. It's a procedure in which fecal matter or stool is collected from a tested donor, mixed with saline or other solution, strained, and then placed in a patient by colonoscopy.
Ooh.
The purpose of the fecal transplant is to replace good bacteria that has been killed or suppressed, usually by the use of antibiotics, which is why I don't often take antibiotics unless I really, really have to, which I haven't for a long time. But yeah, so there are such things as fecal transplants, and that was also amazing when I was thinking about science and the way that things changing, and I remember years and years ago, we're talking like 20 years ago, when they were talking about the first growing of an ear on the back of a mouse, and look, we can now transfer shit from one person to another. How amazing is that? Science is awesome.
Yeah, that is quite something. I love hearing about stories of when people get organ transplants and they begin to take on some of the likes or dislikes, or even a bit of the personality, really, of their organ donor. It's just how incredible is that? I'd love for science to kind of publish a report or just their findings of how does that happen? How is that even possible? I don't even
know if they can know. I mean, obviously, once you've got part of somebody's DNA transplanted into you, your DNA can't change, but there's nothing to say that some of the cells or some of the blood or whatever it is from that particular organ can't then have an effect on the rest of your body, but it's just such a small amount being absorbed into such a